Hello everybody, welcome to the Skits chapter introduction meeting. First, let's do some quick introductions. Hi, my name is Audrey, and I'm the co-president of the Skits California chapter, specifically Los Angeles County. And one STEM topic I like is biology. And feel free to introduce yourself as well. Great! Just to give an overview of today's session, I will be going over what Skits is, as well as our main program ideas, and the 2-week checklist at the end. And if you have any questions, feel free to email us at skitssciencekits@gmail.com. And at the very end, I will also go over the chapter guidebook. And you will have access to these slides, as well as anything else that I go over today through the Google Sites. Great, let's get started. First, what is Skits? We're a student-led nonprofit founded in 2020, and we're currently based in Los Angeles County, and you can see us on the map. We are completely run by high school students. Our mission is to make STEM education accessible with a focus on BIPOC and low-income students, and that's why we make it our mission to provide free programs for all students and families. Next, why do chapters matter? Chapters matter for local impact, community connections, and global growth. And your chapter, whether if it's in a different county, state, or even country, will contribute to spreading STEM education to more places around the world where people need it the most. Next, I'll be going over our 3 main programs, as well as some additional program ideas that you can consider for your first program. By far, this is the most popular program, known as the Online STEM Immersion Program, or the SIP. These are online classes typically geared towards elementary school students, whatever those grades might be in your own region. Each program runs for about 4 to 5 weeks, and the reason this program is so popular is because it's completely free and it does not require any physical materials. As you can see in the picture on the bottom, we have student volunteers who create slides presentations, as well as online activities like Kahoots, Blickets, and Quizlets, so that students are engaged while learning fully online. Next, we have our in-person Science Kits program, also known as Skits. These are in-person experiments, typically 1-hour sessions, and chapters will need to fundraise to cover the costs of the materials. At the bottom, you can see some pictures from a recent Skits session. The Skits California chapter, specifically the Los Angeles County chapter, currently partners with a local place of worship, and they allow us to use their classroom. You can see the students are very engaged in the lesson, and they're even building a wheeled vehicle. This Science Kits program is very good for community outreach, especially if you have access to a physical space. Our 3rd main program is Discovery Labs, which are take-home or in-person kits. These have a very flexible schedule, and once again, chapters will need to fundraise to cover the costs of the materials. At the bottom, you can see some examples of kits that we've assembled in the past. There's 2 ways of going about this program. First, you would need volunteers to help assemble the kits after you purchase all the materials in bulk. Next, you can distribute the kits at public spaces like libraries or parks or schools, of course with permission from the location. Or the second approach would be to have volunteers still assemble the kits, but after distributing them, you could host a Google Meet or a Zoom meeting to go over with the students how to assemble the kits, as well as to explain the science behind them. As you can see, our 3 main programs, as well as our additional programs, are all very flexible and can be catered to your geographic region's needs. Here's a list of some other approved programs, and we'll go more in depth in the chapter guidebook, so I'll just briefly explain 2 of them. And by the way, these programs are optional, and you can consider them as well for your first program. So Skits Academy is one-on-one mentorship or tutoring, which is different from the larger group session of the online SIP. Skits Pathways is career speakers. There might be some universities in your region, so you could have either college students or adult professionals in a STEM field do an online or in-person presentation about their work and academic journey. This is a great opportunity for students to have a chance to explore different careers that they might want to pursue in the future. Next, let's move on to your role as chapter president or co-president if you decide to have two co-presidents. You can decide to keep it with one president or have two co-presidents. The decision is up to you and the goals of your chapter. So the chapter president or co-presidents are responsible for leading the chapter, communicating with me and Stephanie, organizing programs, and most importantly, keeping safety as the #1 priority. Next, volunteers are an integral part of Skits chapters. Typically, they're in middle school and high school, whatever those grades might look like in your region. And all volunteers are motivated to serve because they all earn volunteer certificates, which recognize them for their hours. At the bottom, you can see some photos of volunteers, and you can see they're actively teaching and helping the students with the activities. And we also need volunteers for the online programs as well. Now moving on to outreach and recruitment, you'll need to reach out to schools, libraries, community centers, places of worship, etc. in your geographic region. I'll go more in depth when we go over the 2-week checklist. Writing and communication is really important as well. We recommend starting out with a Gmail account using the format skits.chaptername.county@gmail.com. So for example, for the Los Angeles County chapter, we would follow the format skits.california.losangeles@gmail.com. And then after creating the Gmail account, you can move on to creating an Instagram account, as well as any other accounts on social media platforms that are popular in your region. Some other examples are TikTok, Facebook, Remind, etc. And this follows a very similar format, skits.chaptername.county. So as an example, you could do skits.california.losangeles. And this is very important. Make sure to not put your personal information, including birthdays and the passwords, because these accounts can be accessed by a lot of people and will remain public. And next, make sure to send us your login information. This is mainly a safety precaution because in the case that anything bad happens, we might have to log into the social media accounts. However, this has never happened before and it's a very rare occasion. So this is mainly just a safety precaution to protect you guys and also us because we know that we're working with minors and also younger students. And next, moving on to rules and support, make sure to sign the chapter agreement form within 2 weeks. And as a friendly reminder, main branch support is always available. Stephanie and I, along with our dedicated cabinet members, are all ready to help you in case you need any help in terms of running your chapter. So feel free to contact us at any time. This is the most important part of today's presentation, which is your 2-week checklist. This is basically what we expect you guys to accomplish within the first 2 weeks of establishing your chapter. So days 1 to 3, you can set up the Gmail account and social media accounts. And if you guys need help with this, please let us know and we'd be more than happy to help. And in week 1, make sure to sign the chapter agreement form, which is linked in the Google Slides. And also, please choose your first program. I just went over our 3 main program ideas, as well as some additional program ideas. So you can choose the one that you are most interested in and you believe will be most beneficial to your own community. Also in week 1, we recommend that you recruit at least 2 other cabinet members other than yourself. This is to ease the workload and split up the work because we recognize that you guys have other commitments other than running the chapter. Just to give a few examples of roles, if you know someone who's good at social media and has experience designing graphics, you can ask them to be the publicity director. On the other hand, if you know someone who's good at taking notes and communication, you could ask them to be the secretary. Cabinet members can be just people you know, people from school, people from after-school programs, and even relatives, just people you know in general in your geographic region who are interested in STEM or leadership. And in week 2, you can start outreach, so contact as many schools, places of worship, libraries, community centers, etc. And this has 2 main benefits. First, when reaching out to schools, you can start building an email list of students and volunteers, and once you've completely planned your first program, you can reach out to that email list and see if anyone is interested in participating in your program. Second, if you are interested in hosting an in-person program, make sure to reach out to locations that offer physical spaces, for instance, libraries, community centers, and places of worship. And this just helps with creating connections and networking. And if possible, make sure to speak face to face because it's oftentimes easier to communicate in person rather than online. But of course, emailing and messaging are also great ways of communication. Now, I know that I've gone over a lot of information, so if you guys have any questions, program ideas, or any local opportunities that you guys would like to bring up, please email skitsciencekits@gmail.com, and we would be more than happy to answer any questions or concerns. Okay, here is our contact information. So we use both Discord and email, and these are our personal Discord usernames as well as personal emails. And you can also email us at skitsciencekits@gmail.com should you ever need any help or assistance. Now I'll be transitioning to the official chapter guidebook and helping you guys navigate it for the first time. Great, so now let's look at the Skits chapter guidebook. So what we just went over in the slides was pretty surface level. So this chapter guidebook goes a lot more in depth and has a lot of detailed explanations about the different programs, publicity, and fundraising ideas. So let's go ahead and I'll show you how to navigate. First, we have an About Us section if you're interested in learning more about our mission and more about our programs. And then on the sidebar here on the left, you can navigate to our three main programs. First, let's go over the online SIP. Here are some program ideas for classes, and we've hosted a lot of different classes, so feel free to look these over and see if any of these interest you. And if they don't, of course, there's so many other STEM topics that you could also pursue as part of the online SIP. Here are some program instructions, so you can email local elementary schools and other local places, and make sure to include the program dates, classes offered, target grade levels, etc. in the email or message. And then that organization can then forward that email to the parents, students, and community members that it serves. And then you can also email middle schools and high schools to recruit student volunteers to teach the classes. And then we also recommend hosting a brief 1-hour training meeting for all volunteers so that everyone is on the same page in regards to expectations. Here's a simple guide on volunteer structure. And here we have our official volunteer certificate, so you can click on it and make a copy for every volunteer so that they are recognized for their service. Next, moving on to the in-person Science Kits program. Here we have some ideas for experiments that we've successfully hosted in the past. Here are some program instructions, very similar to the online SIP. So you would need to secure an in-person location, and then after that you can email elementary schools and other local places so that you can start creating an email list of interested students and volunteers. And the in-person programs will also require chapters to fundraise to cover the cost of the materials, which we find is typically $30 to $50 USD per session. And then you can prepare the lesson slides and also plans as well. And we recommend hosting a brief 1-hour training meeting for all volunteers to go over expectations, especially if the experiment is a bit more on the dangerous side. Again, we have volunteer structure and a volunteer certificate here as well, which you can make a copy of. And then moving on to the Discovery Labs program, very similar in its outline of instructions. So it has program structure, how the program works, and some notes and additional ideas. Here are the other program ideas that I mentioned in the slides. These also have very detailed instructions on how you can get started and apply them to your own community. So we have Skits Academy, Skits Pathways, Family Lab Night, Story Lab, Connect, and Voices. If any of these additional program ideas interest you, then you can start with them as well. Here is the publicity section. We just went over branding and communication, so this is very similar. So it goes step by step on how to create the email accounts as well as the social media handles. And it also has a link to the logo files, so you can download our official Skits logo and set that as the profile photo of the Gmail account as well as social media accounts. And then here we have ideas for a standard Instagram bio, as well as how to create a link tree so that you can create a link in bio for your social media accounts. And if you scroll a bit more down, here is the fundraising tab. So we have a lot of good ideas for fundraisers, and what we found in the Los Angeles County chapter in California is that restaurant fundraisers tend to work the best for us. Of course, this depends on your geographic region, so take this with a grain of salt when applying it to your own community. Here are some potential restaurant partners. You can work with either chain restaurants or local restaurants. Chain restaurants tend to have a fundraiser request form on their website. Bake sales are also an amazing way to fundraise, and these are typically more fun and hands-on and engage more of the community. We also recommend in-person program fundraising. These are more passive methods of fundraising, like chip sales and donation boxes at your programs. And if possible, we recommend having local business sponsorships and also applying for grants because these make up the largest chunks of funding. And schools usually cannot provide direct financial assistance. However, they can still support chapters through event space, supplies, and free promotion. Here's a simple guide on publicity for fundraising. We recommend using both social media and physical posters. And here are some additional fundraising ideas to consider as well. For example, craft sales and crowdfunding campaigns. And then at the very bottom, we have chapter resources. So if you click here, here's a shared Google Drive folder, and it has a lot of good templates that you can copy and use. And if you would like some inspiration, here are the main branch website, Instagram, email, and Linktree. So feel free to click these and go over them in your own time. And then we also have teaching materials available. We have been, as of 2026, we have been hosting these programs for about 6 years. So we have a lot of different lesson plans and slides that are available for you guys to use. If you guys would like to request these, then feel free to email us at skitsciencekits@gmail.com and we would be happy to send them your way. And here are the brand guidelines. So very simple guide on the different colors, fonts, and logo placements of Skits that you guys can reflect in your social media posts. And then again, we have the logo files here, which you can download and set as the profile photo for your Gmail account and social media accounts. And then if you ever need one-on-one support, feel free to contact me and Stephanie either through Discord or email. And you can also email skitsciencekits@gmail.com to get input from the rest of the cabinet members as well. So this concludes our chapter introduction meeting, and I'm really glad to have met you guys, and please make sure to follow the additional steps outlined in the Google Sites. And once again, if you have any questions, concerns, comments, or ideas, feel free to email us or reach out to us through Discord individually, or you can reach out to our email, skitsciencekits@gmail.com. Thank you all for listening, and we wish you the best in working towards starting your chapter. Thank you.